All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here. This is the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission retreat of September 22nd and 23rd, 2025. This meeting is open. Laura, would you please take the roll, please?
Commissioner Bajpai, Commissioner Chowry, Commissioner Glenn. Excused.
She's excused, yeah.
Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Commissioner Huffman.
Here.
Commissioner Miletus.
Here.
Commissioner Menti.
She's excused.
Commissioner Warren.
Here.
Chair Doherty.
Here. So, Pete, would you lead us out?
Yes, and can you hear me? Okay. So welcome everybody. I'm Pete Pandy with Pivotal Resources, and myself and Cheryl Abbott from Pivotal are going to be here to facilitate the session for the next day and a half. Really happy to be here in such a nice place. So what I'm going to do is just give you a quick recap of what our objectives are, and then actually ask you to share a little bit, and then we'll move forward. So really the purpose overall, I'm not going to read these one by one, is to give you all a chance as the governing board for the Oregon Liquor and Cannabis Commission, an opportunity to build your ability to work together effectively to guide the agency. And we're in a little bit, we're going to hear from Chair Doherty with some more deep thoughts about that, but we're going to have an opportunity to learn about some of the specific function and activities of the agency. We're going to have you do a little bit of team building activities. We're going to have a chance for you to cuss and discuss. One of my colleagues who came from Texas would say, although she would say, cuss and discuss, critical issues and opportunities. So basically, this is your time to build your comfort and your effectiveness as a commission. So we're here to kind of, and we will be able to kind of adjust the agenda as we go. So let me go into what our agenda is. So today is kind of get started, get comfortable. So we're going to hear from Chair Doherty. We're going to have this team building activity that I mentioned, which we'll explain in more detail. We're going to hear from Executive Director Wozniak on some critical issues facing the OLCC, and then we'll wrap up. So pretty easy agenda for today. And then when we get into tomorrow, we'll have breakfast. And then we're going to hear from Director Bertram on the control model, the three-tier system, and other current issues in the distilled spirits area. And then Rich Evans will talk about what's going on with public safety and current issues, talk a little bit about alcohol and cannabis regulation, how they're different. Some of you know a lot about that, but some of you might benefit from more background. And then when we wrap up tomorrow morning, and we've got in the back a flip chart page where you're encouraged, invited to use the posted notes, there's some back there, to suggest topics for discussion. Because in the afternoon, we've got an extended period for you to do some maybe full group or breakout activities to talk about and work on topics that are important from your perspectives. So this is a real important part of this session. And then in the afternoon or later in the afternoon, we're going to have an opportunity for you to talk about areas that you have special interest in, or maybe conferences or events you might like to participate in. So kind of give you an opportunity to broaden your participation should you desire. And then we'll wrap up somewhere around 5 o'clock, somewhere in the afternoon. I'm never promising ending early, because every time I do, I'm looking at the clock at the end going, oh no, we're going to be late. So that's the plan. We're going to have the dinners in this room, and we'll have lunch in this room. But when we take breaks, I'm going to encourage you to go out and enjoy the outdoors, because if you go down the hall, you'll see there's a balcony, there's Adirondack chairs, there's a view of the Deschutes River, all kinds of nice stuff. It is the Deschutes River, right? Yeah, I thought so. I think at one point I thought it was another river, and people said, no, you're all wrong. I got to get my geography right. So that's the plan. So what we wanted to do to kind of get this started, because this is the agenda that we have planned, and the objectives that we have planned, is for each of you to kind of share what you would hope to accomplish. This is what we plan, but this is really your meeting. So an opportunity for you. And then after that, we'll hear from Chair Doherty on some of his thoughts. So anyone like to volunteer to start with, or I'll just have, go from left to right. Yes, go ahead.
Being city for this long. So that's the first thing. But, I'm really actually looking forward to the retreat. We get together and we make tough decisions. Sometimes we make easy decisions. We make really critical decisions. And I don't really know each and every one of the commissioners, even though I've been here a year. We just don't have that opportunity to know what is moving in each other's world and what's important. I think I think any group, when we're all on the same page and we're voting yes and yes and yes. But the good news is we've had some dissenting votes. And I say it's good news because it really does show that we all aren't just rubber stamps. We're doing our own critical thinking. We're doing our own work to come to the conclusions we come to. And we do that in public. And so that to me is really important, that we understand each other well enough and respect each other well enough to know that we aren't always going to agree, but that we have a strong enough connection as a commission and in the work that we're doing, that's just, we move on from that. And we, in my opinion, and the way I see it, I may be on the losing end of a vote. But my job after the vote is taken is to work to implement it if I have a role at all, and not to, go talk about why it was a bad decision or any of that. So I see that as how I perceive it, but I'm not sure everybody perceives it that way. So a chance to kind of get on the same page on some things and to just get to know each other. It's the first time I've been in a retreat with all of you. So I'm looking forward to that.
Very good.
Did I do okay?
You did great. I think we need to have you introduce who's speaking. So that was Commissioner Hayes. So I think because we're streaming
Thank
the
you.
meeting, we should all say, who we
Who it
are.
is.
Don't need your whole bio, just.
Well, shoot, I've written it down. I was ready to go
Yes.
on the post-it note.
All right. Yeah, and I should do that too. I mean, I hate that. Facilitator Pandy. Who else?
Do I get a pick now?
Yeah, actually, that's a good idea. We should get like one of those koosh balls you can pass around.
And the last meeting we had, our public meeting, I think, it was last week, we talked about communication, information, getting out information to the public so they understand what it is that the OLCC does, what we contribute to revenue, what we contribute to public health, and some information to the public. That's like a concrete step that I'd like to understand better. And then switching gears to bigger pictures, one of the tensions we have is the interest in being a partner to business and our interest in protecting the public and their health. And so that's a tension. How do we manage that big picture? And that's something I'm very interested in trying to understand better. So thank you so much for having this retreat. And if I may, I would pick my colleague, Commissioner Huffman.
So, Commissioner Huffman, yes, I think this is.
Be sure to put on the mic. There you go. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.
I feel like I am in the infancy, I'll say, of my commissioner personhood. So I see this meeting for myself as being an opportunity to really understand better the kind of the regulatory ecosystem that we're working within. I've been working with the OLCC on the client side, I guess you could say, for 17 years. And we've applied for over 100 liquor licenses and hold maybe 40 or so right now. So in many ways, I'm very familiar, but kind of as a neighbor and not as a family member of the agency. So very interested in kind of understanding specifically on the marijuana side. Do we say cannabis, I guess, officially side, because that's an area where I don't have any familiarity. And then I think I'll echo the sentiments that were expressed about better knowing the other commissioners and kind of understanding their perspectives. So that I have a better sense at each meeting, kind of, the subtleties of everybody's position. So, and I guess I'll pass it over to Commissioner Melides.
Biggest thing is I've been here for,
Is your mic on?
is it, I'm sorry.
Slide it up.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, so I've been here for a while now. And the agency's gone through a lot of different iterations, and there's been a lot that's kind of gone on, both good and bad. I mean, just a lot of really great work and challenges. And for me, it's just important to focus on the positives that came out of my time here, to kind of see new group come on and and do what I can to share my experience, share my perspective. I think that in general too, that with the alcohol and the cannabis industry, they've changed so much. So there is sort of that historical knowledge, but also just looking forward at kind of what's next. And just doing what I can to I guess be a resource in terms of the history, kind of what I've seen and what I've seen in terms of positives, and as well as what I've seen in terms of what have been challenges that maybe this group can avoid. Because I agree, I really like the fact that we're able to have some of these discussions in a public forum. I mean, not that we didn't before, but it's I think disagreements are good, and it's good to have that, because it is so important, the work that gets done, to have it done transparently and kind of all on the record, I think is good. And it's beneficial for everybody. So everyone knows that, the agency's really doing, or the commission's really doing its part to, provide oversight and what we can. So I just want to be sure I'm, supporting everybody, and leaving a good, advancing all the good stuff we've done here. So that's where I'm at. Let's see. Commissioner Warren.
Thank you, Commissioner Melides. My name is I'm Commissioner Warren, and I am a newer commissioner. And I want to echo the sentiments of Commissioner Nick. I always forget your last name. Sorry. Commissioner and Commissioner Hayes. For me, my purpose, I really want the public to understand the importance of the commission and the work that the commission does. In speaking to friends and family members about my place in this environment, there's so much that they don't know. And I think it's a shame, because there's so much work that is done that is so important, especially on the health and safety side of the commission. So I'm excited to be here to learn from my fellow commissioners, to have exchanges, and to see how we can't move the commission forward with public education and engage in public interaction, so that they really understand and get behind what this commission does. I think it's so important, especially with this, there's so much distrust in government, that there's really a huge opportunity to make a big impact. And I will turn it over to Commissioner.
Commissioner Batch Pie. And being one of the last commissioners to go, I have the benefit of just saying ditto to what Commissioner Hayes and Huffman both said. What 4 months into my term as a commissioner, so I'm still figuring out what my role here is and how I fit into this. So I think hopefully have a better idea at the end of this, and then also just getting to know the other commissioners and how you all think and where you're coming from is going to be really helpful. Chair Doherty.
Thank you. You kind of teed it up for me. That's everything I wanted to accomplish here. First, I want to thank you all for being here, because I know everybody's got full-time jobs, and taking 2 days out of that is important. And I appreciate you doing that, and especially for the staff who's not only got full-time jobs, but they've got a job and a half with building our warehouse and our IT system and all of the things that go on with that. And so I know that 2 days out of that is important. It's a big deal, and I want to recognize that. Yeah, for me, I want to echo some of the things that you said. When I got here, before Pappygate, everything was pretty calm, and publicity-wise, people that I talked to didn't know really what we did. What's a three-tier system? What's the control model? They just got their boots where they got it, and they didn't care much about it. So I was in an early learning curve and trying to figure out the agency, and all of a sudden, Pappygate hits, and we have the executive director's gone, the chairman's gone, we had 6 directors gone, and I'm literally reeling. Where do I contribute here? I don't know enough about this agency. I'm going, this is scary. And so I'm trying to, what do I draw on? What kind of pillar can I draw? What, from my experience, from my life, from board work, this can I draw on to contribute here? That's going to give me some stability, at least, so I can be effective. And actually, as most of you know, I'm a recovering alcoholic, and that certainly had headwinds and things for me to deal with that were difficult. And just sharing a little bit, Marianne and I were married at right out of high school, went into the Air Force for 4 years. Great time having kids. And get to 1970, moved back to Portland, going to Portland State, working at, you guys are too young to know about Mr. Al's Min Shop up at Portland State, or also working for AT&T, where we had phone booths. And I'd go around the state collecting the coins from the phone booths and doing all of that stuff. But at the same time, that's when the wheels came off and alcoholism just took hold, and I was going downhill pretty fast. It's more like dropping off a cliff than going downhill. As one of my brothers said the other day, I was going downhill faster than I could lower my standards. So, so it was calamitous, and I lost everything. I lost every job I had. I lost my wife. I lost my kids. Everything that I had was gone. I spent nights on the street in Portland, actually sleeping in the bushes. I'm not saying it was a long time, but I was sleeping on friends' couches. I was broke into cars to find someplace to stay warm and sleep. Not a fun deal. I wasn't smart enough to steal them, so that's all I could get out of that. And then Marianne had moved to California. I got, thanks to DePaul Treatment Centers, now Fora Health, my great family did an intervention and got me into treatment. And things started to move up from there. Got my job back at JBL&K. I don't know, I was becoming an adult, basically, and taking responsibility for things. And that was 1983. About 1990, Marianne and I ran into each other again. She was up from California, and we fell head over heels in love again. It was absolutely not in the cards. None of us thought that this was ever happen. We were on our own paths. It was a shock to us. And then in 1991, we remarried and been married again for 34 years. And when I thought about that during all this turmoil, well, I'd asked her when we were back together, I said, but how the hell can we have this incredible relationship that we have today after all the hell that I put you through? I mean, you and the kids and all of the stuff. And without hesitation, she said, oh, we couldn't have this if we hadn't had that. And it set me back, because that was some evolved thinking that I certainly wasn't at the place for at that time. But the fact that the beauty that we had then and have now, partly because we went through what we went through in my getting a recovery, still waiting for a thank you note, but I think we might be a ways off. And so what that gave me was a core belief, and it's a kind of a Stoic philosophy is that it's the obstacle that's the way. So when this, as I look back on it, and tried to look at it then, when this hit the OLCC, I can look at it, or we can look at it, or as we're victims of this thing. It shouldn't happen, and poor me. And that was certainly in my drinking days. I was in the victim role. But instead, I got onto this core belief that I knew that on the other side of this, we could be better, and we would be better because of that experience I had. I knew it was possible. So that was something I could hold on to and try to contribute my best in knowing that something on the other side of this is going to be better. Better than if we had not gone through this at all. So that's that one core belief, is that whatever we're going through, and we got headwinds coming up, but we are so much better now than I believe than if this had not happened. We got such great staff, such incredible people on board here that just, it blows me away. That we're able to attract somebody like Tara and Lisa and hang on to that rock solid pillar, Rich, who he'd be here if we had a nuclear explosion. He would still be here. That was core to me, and like you, I was blown away by. I was a new guy and a newbie here, and it was important for me to hang on to that. The other one is, as you brought up, how we operate. And I don't know if any of you read a book called Built to Last by authors were Collins and Pora, I think. Pete, you read that, so he probably understands it a little better than I do. So if I miss a few points, feel free to keep it to yourself, because I don't want to ruin a good story with facts. But what I got out of that book, it was a study of corporations that have been in business for like over 100 years. And it's just a rarity in this country and in most places that most corporations are built up to, make money, line their pockets, build it up, sell it, and make money, and they don't last long. And they found the difference, or what I took out of this, was a lot of differences, but what resonated with me is those people that were head of those corporations that lasted 100 years. I think Sumitomo, I just looked it up last night, it's over 400 years old and still going. And they considered themselves, they weren't there to line their pockets. They weren't there just to build and sell. They considered themselves stewards of this operation and to keep it in good shape and better shape for the next generation coming along. And that's my view. That's how I view us. And I view us, as you brought up in the model, that conflict between public safety and the success of the businesses under our purview. And that caught me when I was first on here. And that is a healthy, what I call a healthy friction. And the way that we do that certainly is by controlling the amount of the drugs that are out there and how they're sold and how they're processed. But we can't be in the business of stimulating the sale of these products, because we're in the business of controlling it. And if you read that, what's the book, Matt?
Toward liquor control.
Toward liquor control. You read in there, the stimulation is just antithetical to what we do. So how do we support those business? Well, we do that with the model that we have, where we have the opportunity, we give the opportunity, provide the opportunity, are stewards of this opportunity for moderate income people in the state of Oregon to get into a business that's almost guaranteed to succeed. And we do, instead of stimulating sales, we give them that opportunity up front. So it's a low barrier to entry. But then they don't have to buy the product. They don't have to ship the product. We pay for the insurance. We give them advice. We train them. We even pay for credit card charges. That's how we help them succeed, in my view. And if anybody else got some more to add to that, please do. But that's where I got to with this, where I could balance those two things, that helping them succeed and being in control model. And then lastly, what I love to see in this organization, when I first got here and sat on the commission, I've never been involved in government before. So this was an eye-opener for one thing. But the commission then, like this commission now, was it was such a healthy place to be. There was disagreement, but there was absolute full respect for everybody at the table. And we had discussions in opposite ends, and people would change their minds. And depending on the discussion, we had that trust level and respect for each other that this would happen. So I am pleased to see that here. I think we're going to go. I've been talking long. I forgot about the slides here. So I want to call out the collaboration and cooperation that I talk about. Is existing in the organization. It's not something new I'm introducing here, but it's been certainly alive with within the organization in pockets. And now I really want to feed that. A couple of examples of that. Well, I'll call out some people. I just, when I see that, like Tara walking around and talking to the people around there, and I hear from them, not from Tara, that how great it is that she'll come in and take something off my desk and encourage them to grow. At one point, Christy Scott, who I just think the world of, she wrote 2 white papers, I don't know, a couple of years ago. I don't know how long ago it was, that it was courageous to do that, because I'm sure it might have cost her some relationships in that organization about how this IT system was going to collapse if somebody didn't do anything. And I wanted to call her out on that for several reasons. After Pappygate, we lost people, not only senior staff, but other people, and probably for good reason. But there were people that hung in there. They took responsibility for what's going on. They worked nights and evenings, and I knew Christy Scott was one of those. So I asked her if I was going to tell her that I wanted to mention her at a meeting from the dais, and kudos to her. And she said, no way. And I'm thinking, well, she's just shy. She says, no. She says, here's the 5 people you need to talk about from the dais, not me. And she gave me 5 names. And I don't have them up here, but and I don't remember their names right now, but she said they were here nights and weekends, and they were taking full ownership of this, and they're not bitching about how tough it is. They're just doing their job. And she said, that's elevating the whole place around here. Another one's Alan Rowe. When I want to go back there and talk in the warehouse, and he was promoted a year or so ago, but when the stuff hits the fan in there's chaos, and he's not sitting in his office now. He's head of the whole thing. He's not. I've heard this from other people. He's out there pulling cases. He's not giving direction. He's in there with the troops, and he gets a lot of respect for that. Rich is another guy that I call on. I know he's going to be there day and night. He's going to be coming in early, working late. Calls me out when I have stupid ideas. I get to get it direct from Rich. That's not going to work, Dennis, but great idea. But there to give. Lisa, I'm so glad that you're here. Lisa, I don't know if you know that she started out, we're in the warehouse, started out picking boxes in the warehouse and then moving up or making deliveries or whatever. And then she heads up Iowa's program all the way to the top of that. And it's just to see the impact of that kind of attitude, that kind of collaboration and cooperation that's going throughout the organization, gives me heart. It's, I don't know, Rich, I hope I'm not breaking a confidence, but when I talk to Christy Scott or talk to Rich or talk to them early on, they would stop me dead in whatever I was talking about and they start talking about Tara. Sorry to call you out, Tara, but with that collaboration and cooperation, which sounds a little bit like, well, it's small smoke and doobie and we're all going to get along and have fun, but it comes with accountability and leadership. And Tara shows a leadership that it's not about being the best, it's about making everybody else better. And that's completely different than a command and control. People who are operating out of fear are different than those who are being called to a higher place, who are being led by somebody who inspires them. And Tara inspires people in there. Rich has brought that to my attention. Christy Scott brought that to my attention. And when I'm on these trips to Canada or NABCA, of course, they're telling me there's something different going on, and I'm waiting for the shoe to drop or something to happen. And they're saying, no, this is elevated out there. Several people at this last NABCA, we had lunch with one of our big distributors that just said there's something different going on there, and that's pretty good. I think we even had the union rep said, I can work with Tara. I don't think union reps talk about it like that. So that atmosphere, that I want to say something you can feel, not just see. So I feel it at the commission level. I feel it when I walk out there now. That it's a team. It's working just as you described it. That we want to lead by example. And if there's, I've been on enough boards. If it's something sideways going on up here, that permeates the organization, and it's not sideways up here. And I appreciate that. And I appreciate that from all of you. I just kind of went off on my own there. So I'll just close with this, that there's a theme in there that through all of this that seems so beautiful, but it's when I was chairing an organization called the DPI Group. It's a nonprofit organization. We help get people into the workforce who have barriers to employment. But the president CEO there, Travis Pearson, he's a not retired. He was former Army Special Forces. He never wore a uniform. He was all in introduction throughout the country and just one of the smartest guys I knew. So in my mind, he could lead any company. And I asked him one day, why are you staying here? I mean, I want him to stay, but I had to ask the question. And he said, Dennis, I got to be serving something higher than myself. And what I see at OLCC now is people are called to something higher. They're doing their job, but they're helping each other. It's somehow I can't describe it as well as I can feel it and see it. So I'll close with that. We have incredible people here. We're able to attract incredible people now where we couldn't before. And I think we're on a great path going forward. And I'm not coloring anything over because we've got some hurdles to go ahead of us, but we've got the people in place to do that. We got a new CFO. Lisa's got her new number 2. We got Tara. We've got just top people. So I will close with that. So thank you all for taking the time to be in here, and I appreciate your wanting to dig in and get closer, because that's exactly what I like to do as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair Doherty. So comments, questions from any of the commissioners based on what Dennis has shared?
Really quick, I know you didn't touch on it, but it was up there, culture eats strategy for lunch. And
my favorite phrase is thank you. That's out of that book. I know that was from Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker, who said a business leader, but he just said culture eats strategy for breakfast. And that's one of my firm beliefs. So you got to have the culture.
That's
Yeah.
when I saw it, and I appreciate it, and that's, when I think about being here, I think about creating that culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciated it being up there, and I saw you missed it, so I just wanted to give you a chance.
I forgot to, thank you for bringing it up because that's something I so appreciate that what we can create as culture, then we can do anything. We can do anything. Thank you.
Great. I'm just going to interject one key point that was on the first slide that I think if didn't brought up, Dennis and Tara would be thinking, we should have made that point. So one of the things we're not trying to accomplish in this retreat is come up with new initiatives for the agency. So plates are full, plenty to do. So it's really about helping you do your roles well, but we're not here to come up with the next set of, there may be a point for that, but not today.
That's where Rich stops me when I have great ideas. And he just tells me it's not going to happen, Dennis.
Yeah. Hopefully, I'm sure you all understand that, but we didn't want to make that point. So if someone says, hey, let's go do this, we all need to say, okay, well, remember that, let's put that on the parking lot that they can keep on mind for maybe the next strategic plan or something like that, but not for the fall of 25. All right. Well, we're now going to get into this team activity. I'll let Sherilyn get that started.
Yeah. Okay. Those are really great comments, Chair Doherty. So appreciate you sharing those, and hopefully that sets the tone for the next day and a half together, and appreciate all of the things you mentioned earlier about what you want to accomplish throughout the day. So a couple of things before we jump into the activity that I just want to set as reminders, because I know we had some people come in late. So one thing up here on the board is this fun facts comment. So if you have not thought about something interesting that maybe others don't know about you and given it to PRI yet, just in the next hour or two when we're together, if you could write that down, throw it on the back table, that would be great. The other thing I wanted to point out, Pete touched on it when he was going through the agenda, but I heard a lot of great ideas when you were sharing what do you want to accomplish today about working together, communication, other things. So tomorrow afternoon, we're going to have some small group discussion topics that are topics you're all going to decide what they are. We haven't pre-selected what they are. So reflect on some of those things that came up when you were sharing, and there's a board at the back labeled discussion topics. So put those up there, because tomorrow mid-morning, we're going to look at all those potential topics and you'll say, yeah, let's talk about these 3 things this afternoon. This would be the most valuable way for us to spend time together. So I mentioned those 2 items because they take time to sort of percolate, and you want to be thinking about them throughout the afternoon. So let's jump into this activity, though, before we go much further. So we want to do a little bit of time that I think is in alignment with a lot of what you said, which is getting to know each other a little bit better. And so this activity is going to be one way for us to do that. And we're going to do it through imagery and pictures. And so each person, we have a table over there, and I think it's accessible for everybody. So it's good to need to get up, move about a bit. But we want you to look at the pictures that are over there and pick up 2 cards. And one is supposed to visually represent a strength of your own as an individual contributor of the commission. And the other picture you pick up is meant to be what you perceive as a strength of you as a group, as a commission. So 2 pictures you need to pick up. Don't overanalyze it. Don't think too hard about it. Maybe one picture right away is going to jump out at you. That's probably the picture you should pick up. Pick up those 2 cards, and then we'll give you more instructions after that. But for now, everybody can mosey to the picture table and pick up your 2 cards.
I just wrote a little.
Sure.
We did.
There.
Ready?
Oh, yeah. It's like happier.
Okay. I think everybody has their 2 photos. Remember which one was your individual one, because we're going to talk about those first. So you can set aside the other one, focus on the one that you picked that is your individual card. And everybody's going to share, but we'll volunteer for somebody to go first, just because I like the first person to be a volunteer and not be voluntold. But we want you to describe the picture that you chose. You can show it to us, even though they're small, but, describe what's on the photo. Describe why it stood out to you, why you feel that represents an individual strength. If you have a particular story that might connect to why you feel that's your strength, those would be great to share. So you're encouraged to do that. Pete's going to take notes because we're going to do some theme identification as well. So who would like to volunteer to go first? This is your individual card, not your group strength card.
I'll go if you want.
Go ahead. Whoever gets there first, or I see first, gets to go.
Commissioner Warren. So the first card I chose for individual perspective is a group of multiple people in a circle on a beach. And I've always been told, and I do feel this way, that I'm a natural connector of people. So I can bring people together with various views, different backgrounds, different opinions, and bring them together to have open conversations about ways to collaborate, to achieve, to accomplish.
And do you have an example that you might share where you've seen that yourself?
My daily life.
All right.
I'm in real estate. My job is to connect and to not to choose a winning side, but to help people facilitate an end result that is meaningful for themselves. Not who wins, who loses. It's always win-win. And so I do that in my everyday.
Great. And now we'll just go around in a circle from there to keep it easy.
Sorry, I have to go second. Commissioner Hayes, and I have a picture, there are a whole bunch of rubber ducks going down a stream. And to me, it's jumped out as ducks in a row. So when I picked it, it does not, I think we're all very multifaceted. So this is just one section, but I might say after 30 plus years in government, both as an elected and, paid job, I might be a little anal about some things, just admitting it. And I do like to get the ducks in a row. What are the rules? How do we follow them? Let's not get in trouble for no reason. I'm getting in trouble for a good reason, but maybe, so that's why I picked it. A little bit about, get your ducks in a row, and then we can move on from there.
Great, thank you. And I appreciate, so you've seen this already about Commissioner Hayes. Okay,
Commissioner Batchpie, I picked this, it's a bunch of gears running some sort of big machine. I can't really tell what the machine is, but it's I think the complexity part of it kind of drew my attention to it. I think I enjoy complexity. I enjoyed figuring out how complex things work. And so, yeah, that was what drew me to it.
do you have an example?
I mean, like Commissioner Hayes, kind of my 20 years in government, working in fairly complex systems like behavioral health and mental health and the correction system. I've enjoyed that, and there are fields that a lot of people get burned out with pretty quickly, and I've enjoyed my 30 years of doing it. So, yeah.
All right, Commissioner Melides, I picked this one. Guys on the top of the hill looking over the clouds, and I like this one because I don't know, I think a lot about all this stuff, and I think that's one of the things we try to do is kind of stay above the clouds and take the long view. And yeah, just I put a lot of thought into this, and try to, I don't know, the decisions we make are important. So yeah, just trying to see the big picture, trying to see the long view and stay above the weather as best we can. So
All right, we'll jump over the table. Hey,
I chose the chess piece. There's one king standing. That wasn't really the my intent of why I chose it, but more, I guess, chess itself. Just, and I suppose I chose that because I'm with my company and my team. I'm always trying to emphasize, not why the king can only move in one direction in one space or multiple directions in one space, but just the fact that it can. And so we need to focus on kind of not necessarily the normative reasons of things, but the positive reasons, meaning you have to understand what can happen and really pursue objectives based on that, not on what should happen. Not that should isn't important, but within the confines of like making decisions strategically, you have to do it as a function of kind of what's possible and not necessarily what you want. So that's why I chose that.
yeah, do you happen to have an example of where you think you've done that or helped somebody else to do that?
Well, I think it kind of it drives most of our decisions. I mean, when the team is asking, for instance, should is always a really important question, right? Because we want to be driven by values, but more often than that, we're constrained by just what the rules are, and so permitting, just as a great example, right? A lot of times it doesn't make any sense at all, but you just have to, you have to understand what the rules are, and within a more complex understanding, you understand better what's possible, right? So I guess that'd be one example.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chowray here. I have dogs, but not just any 3 dogs. These dogs, they're trying to figure out something. So they're being responsive. And I'm a trial lawyer, and in my practice of law, I've made mistakes where I've lost juries because I'm trying to force them and I'm not listening and making eye contact and trying to connect with them. So these dogs are trying to connect with their audience. They're trying to meet an objective, which may be getting a treat. And my objective has been to persuade. And that doesn't mean being a jerk. It means being a dog that's trying to understand what is the audience needing. What can I do to persuade you to give me that treat? Give me that verdict. And so that's what I have learned in trial practice is we need to be more like dogs to persuade other human beings to go our way.
Now, how could you tell that from their eyes in the photo? That's what I was wondering as
You know,
soon as you introduced that card.
The tiny joys in my life are often related to dogs. And so when I look at these dogs, I can tell they're trying to understand the human, and they've got their heads tilted. At the same time, they could be ferocious, but right now they're just listening and being totally responsive, and they're really genuinely, earnestly trying to figure something out.
Would you be a dog person? Would you? I have children that we would say are easily distracted by dogs. So I wondered if you fall into that group of easily distracted by dogs. Great. So couple of themes. I'll see if Pete wants to start and or any of you can share as well. I think some of the things I heard was that people didn't overanalyze those. I mean, it felt like everybody picked up their card pretty quickly. That was one thing I noticed from the stories, right? Like the dogs grabbed you, the easily distracted by dogs grabbed them immediately. So that's good. We didn't overanalyze them too much. I took away that everybody could articulate their strength pretty well, and they had both personal examples in many of the stories and connections to the work they do on the commission.
I think it's interesting that we've got some sort of more, sorry, forgot about that. There's actually some diversity, I think, in the strength that you see here, like the, the chess pieces and the gears, and then we have, people on the beach. It's sort of layers. There's, and the clothespins, more of the big picture stuff, and then sort of getting into the details and understanding the nuances. And one of the things that Commissioner Doherty talked about, this book Built to Last, that he brought up, and I was like, oh my gosh, because I read that book many years ago. It's not a new book at all. And one of the concepts that they found was common to all of these long-standing organizations is that they practice what they call the genius of the and, which they contrast with the tyranny of the or. And, there's a lot of people who have trouble holding two contradictory thoughts in their heads at the same time. And the reality is, the role of OLCC and a lot of other government agencies is exactly that kind of contradiction, right? How do we enable something while regulating it at the same time? So anyway, I think this is kind of a promising diversity within the commission based on what you've described, because we need different perspectives in order to accommodate the and not get stuck in it's either this or that. So that was a theme I saw.
Great. Themes that anybody else saw? Or benefits you were picking up on amongst you, or individual strengths that you think would be good to leverage? She's helping you with the mic.
Commissioner Hayes, I appreciated, even though we're a small group today, there was a diversity of skills. Now I'm hanging with the people that can do the complex understanding of systems. And I'm not a dog person, so dogs come up, you're my guy. But also, I'm very curious as we build our team, if you will, that diversity is so important. And I really just I want a little time to find out what everybody did for a living. I don't know why, but to me, that drilling down, because I don't know everybody's job. I know some people's.
We will make that a priority for
That'd be
dinner
great,
later, I
'cause just
think.
think, what do you spend your professional life doing? You may hate it, and I would love to know that as well, with the mic off, so we don't need that. But what is that part of it that gets you up every morning? And then how does that fit into the team as we move forward? And whose test can I cheat off of is really important, because I know I don't have all the answers, but I do appreciate getting to know people who have, where my blind spots are, they have vision.
Great. Yeah, go ahead.
For that.
Oh, yeah, we'll make that I was serious when I said, let's make that a priority for dinner conversation this evening. Anybody else have any other thoughts on the individual strengths? All right.
That, listen to you, Matt, I can see exactly when you're on the commission, your thought process, it is that level. You see that higher level. Sometimes I get caught in the weeds, and because you've been there a long time, I think this would be a good idea if I pull this string over there and you say, hey, look what happens over here when you do that. And I can change my mind on things. So I so appreciate that. So this is good, getting to know how it comes out in the thoughts in here. Anyway, good exercise.
All right, we're going to take a quick break just because we got to keep people awake. That was somebody's objective. So let's take let's come back at 25 after, and then we'll talk about the cards you picked up as the strength of the commission. And like Pete mentioned, it's nice outside, so if you need some fresh air, take advantage of that. 25 after, we will come back. Yeah, right. Listen, you're not even having any visual.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I shouldn't need that.
Exactly.
Whenever people ask, like, it's
Oh.
always hard to describe.
Did we lose somebody? No. All right, welcome back from the break. So before we get into sharing the second cards you picked up, I was going to pull out one of the fun facts and see if we can take some guesses at whose we think it might be. So the one I picked out was I ran a daycare with 12 kids plus my own kids. Getting them all 15 down to sleep at once was quite a feat. Ran a daycare with 12 kids and their own 3 kids. Guesses? Guesses? Rich, you have a guess on who it might be? Tara? Not Tara. Yes. Plus 3 of their own is how I interpret that. 12 kids plus my 3 kids. Matt? Not Matt. I have a lot of admiration for that person too. Oh, it's Laura. Okay. That's right. Well, she hides now because she used to run a daycare with. There you go. She's using her experience from that. Okay, group cards. Oh.
Well, how long did you do it? Like, it was one time you had to get him to sleep, or you ran it for how long?
Oh, no, 9 years.
9
9 years. Yeah.
In your home?
Yes. So I could stay home with my own kids and take 15 others to the doctor's appointments with me. Yeah, it was awesome. No, I loved it actually. Parents suck, but I like it.
Any parents listening in, doesn't count. You're not included. All right. So we're going to move into the second picture that you chose. And this one now is focused on the group commission strengths. And what you see is the strengths for the commissioner. And Sherilyn's going to be our scribe this time. So again, who'd like to volunteer and share your thoughts on your photo? Okay. All right. Do use the mic.
So the Commissioner Warren, the photo that I have looks like a tall oak on a hill in a sunset, or what I would imagine the view after a storm.
Mm.
And so for me, this was representative of, I had the privilege of being on this board with 4 commissioners who have retired from the board. And they were all amazing women. And I thought, oh my gosh, how are we going to have a board that's that strong and that dynamic? And we're missing out on 4 really great voices and perspectives that I'm just getting to know. And now fast forward to the new board, and I think, oh my gosh, this is such a great new board. I'm so excited to learn and grow. And so this picture to me represents the turmoil that the chair saw and had to go through and lived through and is moving forward from. And that this is a really great representation of one direction, clear vision, and nothing but smooth sailing, even though it's a road and not a.
Good.
Thank you. Commissioner Hayes here. The picture I chose was a bunch of feet all in a circle in the sand. And so actually when I saw that, it was just like you're in. And to me, when you're in for being a team. And so it was the closest representation of a team that hadn't already been stolen by someone else. I mean, chosen by someone else. And I really do believe that, we are a team in the work that we do. And team doesn't mean we always agree or we're all the same. But we do have the same hope for success. So that's why I chose that, because it represented that team aspect to me. And also kind of represented the hokey pokey, but I couldn't come up with an answer. Yeah. There you go.
Commissioner Batchpie, I'm going to be honest, I picked a card and then came up with the explanation later, but it's an orchestra hall, which I was just thinking later about, when we were talking about our strengths and how they're all different. There's an orchestra, that's how it works. It's not a bunch of one instrument. It's a bunch of instruments playing together that kind of makes the whole thing. So, yeah.
Very good.
Picked,
Wait, take the mic.
so this one looks like rowers all going in the same direction. I like that because, I think, I do well as part of a team, and I think, yeah, just having the group all rowing in the same direction is, I thought a good description, and, everyone kind of, coming together, using their own strengths to move the ship forward. That was good description of the way this group could work or has worked.
Okay, just make sure she gets that recorded.
Okay, Commissioner Doherty here. Birds on a wire. And what came to me was that they're all kind of looking in different directions, like they have their own lives. They're aware that everybody else is there, but they're doing it. But when they sing, there's a harmony to it. They all have different parts, different roles, but it comes across as some harmony. And that's what I picked this card. I think of the commission like that we have different voices, different experiences, different ideas, but it somehow brings harmony to what we're trying to do.
And both of yours have to do with stuff on a wire. So can we explain that?
I don't know. Maybe I've been hanging on the wire all my life so long, I've gotten used to it.
Yes.
Some tightrope walking is probably it.
Commissioner Huffman, I stole from Commissioner Hayes the team photo. So I'm gonna pretend that this is a rugby team, which is my lifelong passion. I was fortunate enough to have my dad teach at University of Auckland when I was younger. So I
Whoa.
lived in New Zealand for a while. And if you spend any time as a youth in New Zealand with any athleticism whatsoever, you're compelled to play rugby. So, but what I like most about the sport is that it's I think truly the most collective sport that exists. There's no kind of individual show off or is kind of taboo in the sport. So I love that, and it seems to me always to be a great kind of template for how to work effectively together. Because if you have people that need to kind of be the peacock that struts around and is seen and shows off, that never works well for the collective. And I'll point out that this upcoming weekend, the Women's World Cup final is going to be happening, featuring England, which is the most funded international women's team in the world, and the Canadian national team, who are amateurs and who self-funded their team and somehow made it to the final. So a totally awesome story. So Saturday the 27th. They'll probably be at a terrible time here in America, but I think it's on Peacock. So there you go.
Great.
So Commissioner Chowray here, and I will just point out that I've got people who decided to lie down and put their feet together to make a star. And so coming off of the no showboating in rugby, if somebody wanted to showboat, they wouldn't have this star. And so this is all about public service and how it could be uncomfortable to put your feet touching another person's feet to make a star. And sometimes it's a little uncomfortable if we don't agree. We're not always going to agree, but in this case, they came together for public service to make a star.
Well, so hearing and reviewing the notes that Sherilyn took there about each of your it is. So what kind of themes emerge from this? I think it's kind of vivid. Yes. Collaboration, no showboating, looking to the future, recognizing differences. Really great set of principles for any group of people that comes together. I long time ago learned about, what's the definition of a team? Anybody have an idea what a definition of a team is? Throw something out. Good. That's pretty much it. It's the one that I had is a group of people working together towards a common goal, right? And if you think about those two sort of elements, there's a bunch of people working, and then there's together towards a common goal. So people can be out there working, doing all kinds of stuff, but if it isn't aligned to the common goal, it's not really a team. It's just people working. And I think you guys intuitively understand that, and it's reflected in these comments here.
So I noticed here that I see here all these talented, successful people, but there's no ego in here, like no showboating. That everybody, that's been, I've seen that on the opposite end of that, where you got egos in the room that are trying to pull their whatever their ideas is going to compel, and this commission, the commission before this, it was just struck me. I've been on the other end of that. So anyway, that's what the theme that I see in here.
Yeah. And, you're probably aware, at least some of you have been around a while and work with different similar organizations. It's not that, it's pretty rare. We've done various facilitation and working with different commissions and boards and community groups that come together. And, we do a lot of work with ODOT, the Department of Transportation, and people talk, well, why do bikes need to even be on the highway anyway? It's sort of like you come in with some perspectives where, you think, well, maybe we're not thinking collectively here. That's just one sort of extreme example where you see people come with an agenda. And it's okay to have different perspectives and understand the needs of different groups. But if you come in just to represent that group, that's not really what this kind of a commission is for. So I think kudos to you.
So everybody's had these very common notions about the advantages and the strengths that you have currently as a group. What do you think you need to do to foster that over time?
Day at lunch, talking about the idea of coming in with an open mind. If you change the way you look at things, the things that you look at change. So if you have a tunneled vision or one-minded view of how the world works, then you're really losing out to the opportunities of how to really improve how the world works.
So being open to those new perspectives. All right. Other ways to foster that, these strengths that you identified.
I think being clear on that we all have the same or similar definition of team. And, you said it by the no showboating. I was thinking, oh, then I guess I shouldn't play rugby. I should go play basketball. Not to put on basketball players, but it really is like, is that everybody's opinion of a team? Or do people see a team as, we look at who our leader is in this area and we follow them? So I think understand it's a word that gets used, but is it a word that gets unwrapped for everybody? So that was my, where are we next step in understanding how we see team, and then how do we support team? I gave the example of once a decision is made, my support is of that decision, even if I'm on the losing end. But I've been on groups that just think that's ridiculous and really you should just work to change it and get enough votes to change it. So, do we need to unwrap that or are we good with, this higher level definition of team? Not to give anybody more work, because I understood that wasn't an option, but that's a different end.
Say that into the mic so we can hear you.
I was just adjusting Commissioner Hayes's perspective of it's not a losing end, it's just a different end.
So see if we could come up with a third. So we said be open to new perspectives because it changes what you see. Having a common definition of what a team really is and some of the other commentary you added onto that.
I appreciate that definition. Don't do pre-meetings. And so when you're out there and you're making decisions, you may at the end go, oh, I voted this way, but I really see, I may have been on this end of the vote, but I'm really, at some point, I've been in situations where I'm really happy the other end won because of all the, knowledge that came forward from doing that work in public.
So maybe we can have a third thing, one other thing you can do as a commission to foster that. Yeah.
I think if we're going to be effective, we have to understand kind of the purview of what we can do and what we can't do. I mean, any team, you need to know the rules of the game, right? Because, I mean, one of the, I think in any sport, as long as we're there, the teams that act decisively and quickly and have a strategy are often the ones that prevail over talent. So that to me is always, an important one is kind of understanding where, what are the rules of this sport? I mean, I'm maybe stretching this analogy too far, but, and that's something I'm curious still to understand better as we get into this is kind of where do we have latitude to engage and where don't we? And if we understand those barriers better, then I think we can be much more effective.
I encourage you to use the discussion topic board because maybe that's a good topic for tomorrow. So feel free to write that up there so that we can think about that for tomorrow. Any other thoughts on the group strengths before we move on?
Strengths. What ideas do you guys have? You've been doing this a long time for ways to foster that, what we want here, this trust and what we're shooting for here.
Well, I think probably the most important thing is to reflect on, your own behavior, make sure you're sticking with those principles, because sometimes, it's possible there's a discussion that gets heated and, you can veer into the territory that doesn't fit that. And it's also to kind of remind one another. So we all often, I wouldn't say always, but often will do ground rules for how a group behaves. And the reason for that, it's kind of like having boundaries on the rugby field, right? You can tell when people are out of bounds, right? The ground rules set not just what are we supposed to do, but also like we gave you one ground rule today, like let's not create any new initiatives for Tara, Lisa, and Rich, right? So that would be an example if, Matt says, hey, well, they ought to go do this. You all say, well, wait a minute, Matt. So you patrol or you sort of police yourselves. So I think that's the most important way to do that. It just, we all agree this is what we want to do. And if one of us just we're all people, we all kind of make mistakes or get emotional, we just remind each other, this is not part of our culture. And I think that works really well. And, and then I think, which is why, I mean, it's really nice to facilitate a group like you that you all see eye to eye on this, value it, treasure it. And I think for the new commissioners, I think you mentioned it, Chair Doherty, around and we see this a lot. New commissioners or new board members come into any kind of agency. This one is a great example. And wow, there's so much to know, right? And I've heard people say it took me 2 years to figure out, which end of the pen I was supposed to be writing with and being on this. So that's one of the great things about this kind of retreat, because we'll have an opportunity for you to educate one another, especially the new people, but also for new people to remind those veterans about things that might be changing. So I think, continuing to recognize it's a learning and growing process through the time that you go through. But particularly for the new ones, I'm just getting oriented here on where to sit at the dais and things like that. So that'd be a couple thoughts I would have. So you're giving a quizzical look. Is that just your normal expression? We just need to learn that's that's right. Did you have a comment? Okay, good. Hmm. Right, right. Amawashi. Sounds like cleaning the fish in that movie. Mm. Mm. Yeah. Maybe the Japanese are really good at that. I think in the US, we have what we call the 8-foot rule, which is 8 feet past the conference room door. That's when I can start arguing like that was a bad idea. So don't do that, avoid and because you're commissioners, you don't go back to the office necessarily, but you see that a lot in unfortunately organizations where the manager will go back to their team and complain about the decision that they just made that they were a part of, but kind of sniping at it. So, just don't do that. Yeah. Okay.
That, I don't know if I can define this very well, but I think fostering the curiosity in the meetings and that there exists within the group permission to challenge each other, that we trust each other at such a high enough level that we can call each other out, or I don't know if I'm describing it well, but it's a high level of trust and respect that I don't know how to foster it, but I think that's what we're all shooting for. Permission of some sort, I think.
Great. So in the interest of learning, we're now we took a break a little earlier. We'll probably take one more break, although I lose track where we are on the agenda, but we're going to hear from Executive Director on an overview. So we're now going to get into meaty stuff. Please don't lose your cards. We'll come and pick them up, but we don't have our 52 cards. We can't play some crazy kind of poker games with these, by the way.
Make the afternoon really interesting.
You need a couple of shots of Jack Daniels.
No, no. I'm excited about that. All right, so just me, right?
Yeah.
Jump right in. Okay, great. Well, thank you. I'm glad I got a spot right up front. I'm excited to have this opportunity. All. And a little since the vote to confirm. Just rounding out the last, my third month, it has been this file. So it's really nice to have this opportunity to talk about what's happened and where we are in agency. Chance to share. And that chance yet. So, sort of a state of the agency.
And I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the top steps that we'll be covering is my leadership philosophy and share that with you. Where I think agency is right now, the baseline. Getting out of the blocks, share with you my plan tonight. I have my approach about that transition. Just a little overview about the mission and our strategic plan, some major initiatives, and then I will look at for reviewing that mission by your radar. This is what I'm trying to get through today. I'm hoping this could be interactive, not just me. So right, so my leadership philosophy, now, I think 9 times out of 10, when I talk to Chair Doherty, he brings up collaboration and cooperation, so I'm trying to fulfill that vision. It's been a very, oh, like the clarity is kindness, so it's like to know your, and luckily it's one that naturally my style. So I also try to hold myself to like high professional standards, and I emphasize accountability. So, in terms of translating collaboration and cooperation for the executive team, how that plays out for me, I think what we talked about as a team, actually serve, not as to our individuals or divisions, but to general. Support each other. We're unprecedented. And they're all intertwined and so having support at the executive level is and also to lead with integrity, cultivate a culture of care, other, and to follow quality customers and aim to each other and that back to the culture of how we treat each other and how we treat about that.
I'd like to call out your quote. Clarity is kindness. Yeah, I'm just collecting it today.
Right, so in terms of this clarity is kindness, I think it's kind to be clear to the team about what I think my role is on the team. Like you, Commissioner Warren, that image of the circle with arms is how I see organizations, that folks are linked as opposed to a pyramid or a triangle as a hierarchy. It's just our successes are linked, our failures are linked, all interdependent. So I just want to be clear about what my role is for them, and also so that I stay in my lane. That's the failures. So my
So,
like
Tara,
three ways.
when you turn around away from the microphone, then it's hard to hear you. I know that's challenging. There you go. I think that'll be better.
Yes, okay.
Yes, you need a swivel chair.
Thanks for the feedback. All right, so I see my role in 3 ways. One is to be clear-eyed, focused on our mission. As you'll see as I go through these slides, and as you probably know, we have a lot of partners that are interested in work with us and want us to do a whole host of things in any given day and moment. So making sure that we're very clear about our mission, and I think that's my role. To support the team and to protect the agency is another goal of mine, and to make sure that there are various obstacles to success both in the agency. I'm helping to solve for those. And then if there are any sort of external obstacles, that's the role too. So how I see what I'm doing here as the executive. Other sort of element to my leadership philosophy is really what I'm referring to as sort of brand and reputation management for the agency. As you all know, we have the ballot initiatives or background. Like you, I'm neutral on those initiatives. But it is something to keep in mind as I think it's important that people understand the values that the OLCC brings to Oregon. It's been said before, people don't really know what we do and the complexity of what we do and the value that we bring. So, brand management at the agency is what lens through which I've approached this sort of beginning of my tenure, and I think it will. That I see. Right, so now I'd like to turn to the state of the agency. I believe we're in a strong position right now, and I think we're going to keep stronger. One of the things that's great is the executive team is nearly complete. We recently onboarded the CFO. And so that's in addition to, I've been at the agency, a new communications director, a new HR director, Lisa, the Still Spirits director, chief information officer, and chief financial officer, all new positions. So and the deputy director recruitment is the next one up. Whole executive team. And I'm super proud that we've been able to attract this level of talent. I feel really strong about where we are at the executive level. In strong and getting stronger, and including the other key management capacity. We have the retail services assistant manager onboarded, which is fantastic. We also have an information and compliance manager, an IT project manager, and customer service director to add to Christie's team. And we've also added capacity in this budget with in public safety licensing, so we have both separate canvas and and the other thing that I think is been very beneficial to the agency is what we call build, move, modernize, and keep it rolling. The governance structure that we use to manage all of these capital projects. Once in a generation projects that we're delivering all at once. It is a huge lift for the agency, and so this is the governance structure that we're using. We have different executive members that chair different committees that are responsible for delivering these projects on time, on scope, and on budget. And bi-weekly, the executive team meets to discuss project risks, budgets, how we're going to collaborate if there's any sort of obstacles in any of these projects or overlaps or schedules. We're really tapping into a lot of the same staff for different elements of the projects. So like I mentioned before, it's super important that we, as an executive team, are closely aligned and sort of sharing resources and flexing as needed to deliver all these projects at once. Okay, so getting out of the box, as I mentioned, the first 30 days or 90 days have been really full. As I've approached this, as I transitioned from the deputy to the executive, I've focused on 3 areas. One is learning, relationship building, and the OLCC. So in terms of learning, I asked folks to greet me as if I was a new executive of the agency. A handful of key topics that I felt I could like to dig a little deeper into. So that has been really helpful. As deputy, I was focused internally on the operations of the organization. So this is sort of even my learning areas that I'll share with you. The other area I spent a lot of time on these last 90 days is relationship building. Many of our partners that give you a sense of those meetings. Then, of course, the OLCC team, making sure that we are building internal capacity and supporting folks so that we are really busy and overloaded at the moment. And so making sure that folks feel good, both from me, but I think from the so key. year and a half. We sort of ride this huge wave that we're on right now. Right, so under that first category of learning, some of the briefings that I received from staff, the cannabis policy and hemp, communication of hospital for happening on January 1st, the hemp registry. The bottle bill and the alternative redemption center that's coming on board. Current marijuana licensing. A lot of nuances. The DPSST standards that our inspectors do. The Administrative Hearings Division, this is led by Melanie, who at the last commission. The work of that group, deeper dive there, and then also liquor and marijuana. All of these briefings are sort of reaffirmed my, like, I'm just so impressed with how much expertise we have at the agency. That, you know, really keep things moving. So the other focus area, the relationship building, groups that I've met with, the Also Group, they're an association of some of our retail agents, CHOW, the association of some of our marijuana partners in the marijuana industry, Oregon Beer and Wine Distributors Association, Oregon Restaurant and Lodging Association, Cannabis Regulars, City of Milwaukee, who's quite interested in the sale of our headquarters. So maybe the mayor and some of the commissioners can even want to do about what's happening in that space. Some of you I've met with individually and helped to onboard you into be able to do more of that. Buyers. I have met with some of our electeds and I continue to do so, but Ledge Day is coming up. And so you need folks that also have an interest. The union, I was at the bargaining table this year, and so it ended in the, I think, 60th day of that month, my second month, but being at the bargaining table is something that sort of carry on work. It was a really great session, and it ended early. I've also met with the new DAS director, the director of the Oregon Beverage Recycling Cooperative, director of alcohol and drug policy. Certainly, this is not all of the partners that we have, but this is for example, I've met with early on, and I'll continue to meet with people. Obviously, it's been And the third area, the OLCC team, like I mentioned, kind of start the deputy recruitment in short order. We onboarded the new CFO. I started doing regional office visits. I met Salem office, they've been speaking to Salem. After this retreat, I'll head to Medford and I'll meet with the Medford office. Or it's got me scheduled with all the other regional offices by the end of the year. I think I'll have sent to all of our locations. Here we are today. Yeah, 5. All right. Now I'd like to turn to the strategic plan and look at some of the objectives that guide our work. A couple of you were here when we developed the strategic plan, but this would just be a little bit of pressure. Our mission statement: OLCC oversees access to alcohol and cannabis products in Oregon for education, regulation, and distilled spirits distribution. Our aim is to protect public health and safety while supporting responsible businesses, providing funding for local and state. And so my distillation of that is we support Act can be delivered. Support alcohol and cannabis industries, protect public health and safety. We deliver $500 million to the state biannually. And we also administer the most successful auto program. This is short handwritten. The work that we do here is so cool. So proud of it. Y'all feel that. All right, so our strategic plan, as you may recall, has 4 top priorities. Efficient, modernized operations and outcomes. Under this priority, we have grouped together the major changes to our operational infrastructure and practices, including the warehouse and distilled spirits, supply chain coordination or supply chain project. And here we also emphasize the need to improve cross-agency communication. Our second priority is balanced regulation, compliance, enforcement, and education for public safety. As our state's primary regulator of both alcohol and cannabis industries, we have an obligation to ensure this regulation is consistent, effective, and reflects the most modern standards and practices. In this priority area, we have grouped our review of our rules, our efforts to prevent the use of alcohol and cannabis by minors, and the initiative to update our licensee for education. Our third priority is a positive business environment. Business we regulate are minor contributors to the state's economy. Our job is to help them operate legally while protecting consumers and public health and safety. In this priority area, we focus on how to create fair and effective environment for responsible business. This includes improving our licensing and compliance processes, making sure that our customer service is high quality and lastly, priority 4, equity and inclusion, commitment and action. In this area, we're focusing on building equitable and inclusive organization in line with the state's overall equity goals, and developing an inclusive workplace culture, and ensuring that we are delivering equitable services and programs. That's the high level stuff. I just want to take a moment to go over how we turn these strategic priorities into objectives that are put in place. So as you well know, Project Meadowlark that is going on. The linchpin of our system, when it's finished, we'll be able to deliver a significantly higher level of service to Oregonians and all of our stakeholders. At this point, we remain in budget. And as Lisa has noted in her updates, our risks are around project schedule, but we are monitoring that closely. Where we are. Together with the warehouse, the completion of the distilled spirit supply chain project will bring the state's liquor marketplace to the 21st century. So again, this is another generational change that will position us to deliver on a mission for decades. Just as a review, it's a point of sale system, it's a warehouse management system, and it's resource planning. So it's going to help us manage our data operations like so much better. It's a huge step forward and a really big lift for the agencies. The other major project that I know you all have heard about is what we refer to as CAMP. It initially was envisioned with 4 phases. We are in phase 4. Actually, today we're doing user acceptance testing so that we can deliver phase 4 on time. The enforcement compliance and hearing component of CAMP. And at the last minute, due to the legislation with House Bill 4121, we added phase 5, which is our kind of product registry. All along January. A lot of work being done. In addition to just all of the work that we're supposed to do on the day. So it really is. All right. So that's the OLCC specific initiatives that we're keeping an eye on and managing through as a team. And the governor, also has expectations of all state agencies. They're referred to as the governor's expectations. So this is another body of work that we are doing as the agency to be compliant with the governor. I'll just click through them quickly. It includes audit accountability, meaning if whatever audits that come, we make sure that we're delivering on the deliverables that come out of those audits. We report to. So all of this work is reported to the governor quarterly. Strategic planning and agency performance. So we did the strategic plan together, so we met that objective, and now we report to the governor on our performance, achieving that strategic. Our commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is rolled up into our strategic plan. IT progress management. Agency director performance reviews. Employee performance. Yeah, this is what we refer to internally as the Gallup poll. The survey will go out this soon, I think November. It'll be the third year in a row that this Gallup data for the agency.
Biggest Gallup for executive directors.
We do, yeah. So all agencies use Gallup, and so we sort of, we can see how we're faring across different processes. Recruitment and hiring practices, we have time to fill objectives. When we have vacancies, we have time to fill that the governor set forth for the state. Measuring employee satisfaction. Workforce succession planning and the objective that she gave them. Emergency preparedness. Developing new employees and managers, so a lot of training there. Basically, permanent action progress. Again, this represents a separate body of work that we're tackling outside of our own. All right, and finally, just a couple more slides here on some what I'm calling significant additional work that we're up against, but I just want to make sure that I have transparency around. It's important work. It doesn't rise to the level of strategic imperatives, but it's necessary for work that we need to be doing now in order to deliver on all of these things. Our broader strategic goals. So in the administrative services and distilled spirits space, we are doing office relocations. We relocated Salem, like when leases end or businesses arise, we have to relocate. So we just relocated Salem. We'll also be relocating the Corvallis office, and there's a lot of work in those areas. And then the distilled spirits division, in addition to getting the liquor out every day and building a warehousing and ESSC, we are also working with the Also Group on a business valuation discussion. We have the pricing analysis work group that we're going to start up here in short order. And Lisa also chairs the retail services agent advisory work. They're doing a lot of updates to the retail operations manual that have been updated in several years. Her and her team are being responsive to the agents that they've asked us. And the financial services and human resources part of the organization, financial services, and our new CFO, Trish Hagan, is focused on timely and customer service oriented service delivery in the areas of voice processing, our distribution to cities and counties, agent compensation, and all the different actions that we need to do to support day-to-day business, but also the major capital projects. And we are currently, the Secretary of State is auditing our finance service at the moment. Getting through that audit and being responsive. And lastly, in the human resources section of the agency, a lot of hiring going on at the moment. I think down 5 positions. So Tasha is leading the recruitment to get the team, other people hired by the end of the year. And a lot of process improvement internally are being done for how we handle internal investigations, class count reviews, recruitments, and payroll. So all the things that are important when you want to retain staff, all these things are working on. People know how to navigate the HR processes. That's an area that, I know it's high level and quick, but, if there's any questions or discussion about those areas. I'm happy-
Let's stand for.
The Association of Liquor Store Operators.
Support associated with.
They represent about roughly 30% of our retail agents and members of all.
Don't understand that you don't have time for more.
Please remember to use the mic.
Sure, I do. I like that the significant additional work acronym is SAW.
Different name than you behind the scenes.
Fantastic. I mean, the word is. Staff and doing. I'm sorry, that's. But I've only worked at OLPD in transition and in delivering all of these projects that. I'll know, and I'm. Like I said, and I've worked. Project do not come with. Staff to the level. And in an ideal scenario, these projects would have been staggered. Yes, I see for just that component. And myself. But we went from camp when we do online. Licensing. People have different location or interest going online. So really helping people navigate, like the end user navigate, is part of the work that we're doing. The same will be the case. A lot of hands-on field work. So. In addition to the leadership level, getting new staff on board. I do feel like we're in a strong. And help support. By this way. Y'all do for us. That work that. Prior to. Couple of years. You're gonna figure. One day these projects will be over. But, hey, I can't even envision that, what we'll do at that point. It is a full court every single day. Appreciation.
Is there any specific appreciation for going through?
Well, I think he kindly sort of like, teed him up, that like, please don't ask for this stuff. Try not to, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of things that. There's a bring out, to the extent that we just cut off fast. To the extent that, because we have, partners. Because the agency, as we partner with them, that we stay connected as a team. That's like your voice.
So you're still also, or you need to support.
Well, I think, and then I think it's drafting, a little grace. I think right now all of these projects are, we're keeping the wheels on the bus is how it feels right now. And I feel really good and positive about where we're at. And, nothing goes as planned. Projects. So as we continue to navigate all these things. Grace. Just and thank you. I am so sorry, but I really love working with like the people there. Really, that's right.
Okay. So we're actually, Tara's presentation was the last main item on the agenda for today, and we skipped a break, so we actually picked up time. And I think we have a couple commissioners who aren't here, so that went faster. So actually, we could, you know, break now and then reconvene at dinner, and maybe we can do a couple fun facts unless there's any other topics you want to cover now, but we have plenty to do tomorrow. And I know a lot of folks drove down here today, so maybe ending earlier is, and we have a commissioner who's yawning. I will not name. Um, so, and I hope that that's okay. Go. What's that? We can do that now, or we thought we could do it at, over dinner. So either way.
It loses its flow when you got to find the mic and turn it on. I think it's more of a casual conversation. And so I would like to do it over dinner, the professional backgrounds and dinner. At dinner,
Yeah,
yeah,
that way people can tell embarrassing anecdotes that they may not want to go out in the public meeting.
or lie about our background.
Yeah, there you go. Like puff your resume a little bit. Okay. Well, if everybody's okay with that, we'll end then on a couple of fun facts, and we'll do just a quick preview of the agenda for tomorrow. Um, so this commissioner opened a brewery in Lyon, France in 1997. Yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's actually, it says that on the website, so maybe not quite a secret. Did you know it says that in your bio on on the agency website? Okay, well, yeah, because I knew it. So, and I was actually in Lyon about 3 weeks ago, so it was very interesting to see that you had done that. Um, okay, so let's see. Here, you pick one.
All right, I'm going to pick this one because it was one of the first ones I saw. I was quite a long time ago. I was arrested and jailed for being a minor in possession of alcohol, malt liquor to be specific. quite a long time ago. Yeah, jailed, arrested and jailed, not just arrested. I didn't want to put the years because I didn't want to give people a clue to who it could be. So I left off the clue.
It was in Gainesville.
In Gainesville, Florida. I also didn't put that part in case somebody knew that. Why give so many clues?
Did you grow up in Gainesville?
Oh,
We should hear more about it.
yeah. So should we click through so we can see the agenda for tomorrow? Lost the clicker. Oh, I think it's over there. There we go. So as we mentioned this morning, we are going to have dinner at 5:45. So that was on today's agenda in this room. And then get to the dinner through this room. Okay. So tomorrow from 8 to 9, there'll be breakfast in the Cascade I meeting room. So slightly different than today. We'll call the meeting to order at 9, and then we're going to pick up on our agency presentation. So hearing from Lisa, and then hearing from Rich, and then in the late morning, depending on timing, talking about what our afternoon breakout sessions are going to be. So that's another thing to be thinking about. We don't have any suggested topics up there on the board, but you've all been mentioning things that you want to talk to each other more about. So make sure you write them up there so that tomorrow around that late morning time, we can look at what's on the list and you guys can pick the top 3 or what have you, or just pick 3 if you only had 3 ideas up there on the list. And then the afternoon, that's when we'll go to those discussion topics. And then we'll also spend the second half of the afternoon with commissioner areas of interest, things that you're particularly wanting to bring to your role on the commission, industry events, conferences, that kind of stuff. So with that, Chair Doherty, do you have any closing comments for today before we rejoin later for dinner?
No, this was a great news for me. I'm glad that we got to do this. I'm so appreciative of everybody coming here to do this, and it's a beginning of just a great new space for OLCC and for this commission to get closer and better at what we do. So thanks, appreciate it, and see y'all at dinner. Officially adjourning the meeting. Is that what we're doing? We are adjourned.